What's up, guys? So behind me is the kitchen in our boat. Now I'm actually just trolling you. I know it's called the galley. So we're going to be actually refitting the galley on this boat. We're going to be ripping it up today, and it needs to come up, so that countertop needs to come up so we can get the diesel engine out, because we're going to be going electric.
I think it was kind of funny. We did a video where we were putting in the port lights and putting in PVC board, and someone was like, I miss your demolition videos. That's what we always do. So it's back to our usual.
We're going to remove all of the electrical, because we're going to be rewiring the whole boat. So once we're done with all this, we're actually going to start closing off the quarter berth there. We're going to use it as storage, and we're going to actually make the entire back of the boat storage. But there's going to be a bulkhead going right here. That's where the new distribution panel and all the electronics is going to go. We're also going to extend out this counter to there, so we're going to have more counter space, and it'll be kind of a little bit of a nav station.
Yes, this is our plan for the nav stations, that you should be able to sit here, and we want to have some sort of desk mechanism that slides out in front of you, so that you actually have a nice seated navigation area.
Now, this boat was not designed to have a nav station, so we're going to try to make do with what we got. It's not going to be perfect, but I think it's going to be at least functional. And it's a good place to put all the electronics, all of our equipment, phones and stuff while we're cruising, because directly under the stairs right there, honestly, I think that's the worst place to put a distribution panel.
I don't know whose brilliant idea is, let's put all of the electrical right under the companionway, which opens up and exposes it to water. I don't get it.
Also, I wanted to mention, we're going to be listing this Plastimo Neptune 2000 2-burner propane stove and oven for sale. If anybody's interested, shoot us an email. Our email's in the description below.
In addition, as you know, we're going electric, so we no longer need this engine. We have a Westerbeke 20B2 with 350 hours on it that is going to be listed as well. So if you're interested in that, again, go ahead and shoot us that email.
And there's the hours. You can see that there's 350 hours.
0.9, I guess.
0.9. So that's enough of us trying to sell you stuff. Let's get to the demolition. That's not working. So this just is pulling out without literally any unscrewing or prying or anything, because the bottom, I'm guessing it was attached to the bottom, and the bottom's pretty rotted.
Alrighty guys, so this morning we are getting started with demoing, I don't know if that's the right word, but taking apart all of the components in the engine compartment so that we can empty out that space, get it cleaned out and painted before we put in our new electric yacht motor. He's starting with removing some of the wire bundles that were zip tied in the front of the compartment.
These are the wires that go to the instrument panel for the motor, so I'm trying to keep them intact, obviously. Most of the other wires we can just cut out, but these we can't, because we're selling the motor.
There's like a crazy amount of wiring in this boat. Jordan says it's like how every old boat is, but we're always of the mentality of like, keep it as simple as possible. So getting rid of all of this is like a relief. We're finally kind of able to see through the engine compartment. A lot of the wiring is gone. Jordan is climbing back in the starboard side lazarette so that we can get to some of the wiring back there. How does it feel? Cramped?
Cramped.
So we are back on board Freebie after a weekend in Tampa. We are about to get back to work in the engine compartment, trying to get the engine ready to be lifted out tomorrow by the crane. This time we are not going to be pulling this engine by ourselves. This one is a lot heavier than the one on Somnium, so we are trying to be prepared and use a crane.
We also don't have a mast to hoist it the way that we did on Somnium, so we're using the crane, and I've gotten started pulling just some hoses. These are water hoses that were in the way. We're going to be replacing the water anyway, so I'm getting them out of the way so we can see what we're doing.
In case you missed the live stream, you might notice that Jordan is now beardless.
So about a year ago, I set a goal for us to get to about 5,000 subscribers and 20 patrons, and I said when we'd get there, I'd shave my beard. Now, we deleted our Patreon for a while there, so we really couldn't reach that goal, and we actually reached 5,000 subscribers, you know, a while ago. But since we just recently reinstated Patreon, we reached that goal, and since I'm a man of my word, I shaved my beard.
So during the live stream, we were a little excited. It ended up going for 3 hours just because we enjoyed answering your questions right then and there. It was kind of a nice format. So we decided to go ahead and start doing monthly live streams, but this time we're going to limit ourselves to an hour. Don't want too much fun.
Maybe an hour and a half.
If we push it.
If we push it.
So yeah, we would love for you guys to check in on those monthly live streams. Even if you pop in for a little bit and you have to go, that's perfectly fine.
Yep, it was certainly a lot of fun. And I want to thank everybody, obviously, for getting us to our goal, obviously our subscriber goal and our patron goal. So you guys are why we do what we do, so thank you.
Just trying to see what else we need to undo. We've got the raw water intake. We've got the coolant taken off, all the electricals disconnected. Obviously we need to do the engine mounts, but before that, I think we need to concern ourselves with the fuel lines.
Now that everything is off the front and sides, we can go to the back of the engine, and I'm going to crawl in and get behind it to disconnect all that stuff. So this is why I didn't really like this Westerbeke for this boat, because everything you need to do on it is either on this side back here, or it's on the back of it. So anytime you need to service it, you needed to do exactly like what I'm doing right now and crawl in behind it. Just a little annoying. That is the coupling, or whatever you call it, that connects the engine to the shaft. I need to get these bolts that I'm shining the lights on out. You can see how crusty they look.
We're working on the engine mounts, and it ends up that the bolts on this side had nuts on them. These did not. The ones in the back corner did not on either side.
Can you guys believe that? Someone installed this diesel with engine mounts that didn't have nuts on the back of the bolts, except two bolts out of 8.
2 out of 8. Those 2 that had the bolts were this length, and then the rest were these short ones, and maybe had dissimilar metals on them because there's so much corrosion. So it's just crazy that this was holding our engine in place.
That is an engine mount bolt right there, and no nut on the back. Alrighty guys, so we got the diesel behind me completely disconnected, so it's ready to be hoisted out with the crane. Now the only issue is this hole that's actually above it is not big enough for the entire diesel to go out. We actually have to cut this countertop to get the diesel out. Now, we could probably disassemble more of the diesel than what we did. However, we're replacing all of this anyway. We're going to be installing a bigger sink, so we're going to have to cut it anyway. Might as well just cut it and make it easier for us to lift the diesel out without having to completely disassemble it.
I sadly missed a funny moment as Jordan was taking off the water exhaust, and now he looks like he peed himself.
Yeah, I took off the exhaust here. Of course, I had to cut the hose because I can never get a hose off the way it's supposed to. But I cut this and I moved it over, and I just dumped water all over my crotch.
The engine is now removed. And we're trying to clean up in here, getting ready for the electric motor. Any thoughts, Jordan?
How do you like my aft cabin?
I know, it is so spacious. It doesn't really show quite how large it looks on camera, but it is a crazy amount of space back there now.
It's kind of like we're going to be, once we get all this removed and painted and everything, we're basically going to have a blank slate to do with what we want in here, which is what we want. You know, we want to put the electric motor in, and then make sure we can have a good place for the batteries, and then make sure all the electronics or all the wiring is set up well It's intuitive. It's easy to access.
Sorry we weren't doing a great job filming, but it's kind of a message of, so we don't want to touch the camera.
How does 40-year-old engine sludge feel?
Pretty gross. Some of it's like a pile of dirt, some of it's like a pile of mud. There's just a lot of filth down in here. I think the best word to describe it would be filth. I don't think it's ever been cleaned. Maybe when they repowered it, but I just find it hard to believe that in 2004 this was clean. I guess that was, what, 14 years ago now, so maybe. But even 14 years of disgust is disgusting.
It's pretty gross. Diesels are gross. It's what I picture hell looks like.